it is a really cool thing. I remember when I was 16, I had like my own little classical music playlist, but I thought I was really cool and edgy because like I liked classical music, whereas other people might not have. But in any case, I agree that I think it's powerful in that classical music has this ability to transmit a message without lyrics often, and I feel like when you don't have lyrics, the space for interpretation is bigger because you don't have lyrics telling you what you're supposed to think
Mm.
sometimes. So I think sometimes when you just have the instruments, it's almost your imagination is able to take a bit more hold. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the other side of that, which I find really interesting, is the more I do non-classical shows, the more ideas I get for how we can make classical more appealing, or if to bring in that younger audience. Because when you see, like, I don't know, I did this show with Ray at the Albert Hall a couple of weeks ago, and it's like a full light laser show that goes hand in hand, like properly timed with the music, and it is an absolute work of art, and it helps the crowd have a collective emotional experience because the music's showing them one emotion and the lights are helping like instruct that emotional response. And I just think, like, gosh, if people are used to that as like the standard show that you go and see live, and then you go and see a classical show where it's like it can feel more sterile, right? And it's like the lights are just on the whole time. I can totally understand why they might see one as more boring than the other.
It's interesting, this idea of classical music sometimes being perceived as boring, or for example, my 70-year-old grandpa used to listen to classical music, but like people my age might not listen to it as much. And I was wondering how through maybe your TikToks you're trying to change these stereotypes and what approach you take.
I mean, with TikTok, it's this like realization that young people, and actually not just young people, a lot of people spend a lot of hours on TikTok. And it's, I don't know about you guys, but it's kind of partly how we interact with the world around us now. It's like if you go to a really good gig, then you post about it on TikTok, and it like you create a community around that one event, and that leads you to another community within TikTok itself. And so I think it's just recognizing that, like, if people are spending a significant amount of time there, particularly young people, then we should be making sure that classical music, the organ, a sort of nuanced concept of what music and genre is finding its way onto their feeds and is something that they stumble across.
Yeah, you're super right. But I think we should always be careful to keep it as sort of an entry point thing. Like you say, with the lights and everything, and it's super amazing, but the music can also stand on its own, I think. And when we sort of require this immense transcendent experience every time, we don't sort of see the beauty of music as it happens every day and as it can be integrated into our life every day.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's viewing all of these things as tools to help just bring more and more people into this, like, the circle that we keep talking about of music, and then showing them that, as you say, the music speaks for itself. And actually, once you're used to it and once you know what you're listening to, you don't need lights. You don't need to be live streaming it at the same time. You can enjoy it on its own terms.
Yeah, I really liked when you were talking about in an interview I watched about having an unexpected experience with the organ. And I think the performance with Bonobo is that exact perfect example where in one moment, many people's opinions on the organ might have changed, or they might have seen it in a new light just because it comes out of nowhere and has that, like, literally shaking the building. And when it was with all that, it was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny, that show. So many people said to me, we just thought that the organ was like for show at the Royal Albert Hall. We thought it was just like a really cool display at the back of the building. And so and apparently a lot of people have been going, oh, wouldn't it be cool if it was actually playable at that show? And then at the end of the show, it suddenly went, Wah! And it had the lighting, which played a huge part in kind of emphasizing what was going on with the music. It took on a life of its own on social media afterwards. And I still get people coming to my concerts who discovered the organ, discovered me through that one video from Bonobo. And they're coming to their first ever classical concerts, and come to concerts where I'm doing Bach with no lighting and with no like special effects. They're just there because they want to discover more. And I think that literally sums up everything that I'm trying to do in one experience. And I keep being like, yeah, it's possible. It's possible.
Amazing. I mean, it's like, not to hopefully you can stay humble after this comment, but I feel like you're the first person to really do this and make the organ mainstream in this way, which I find really powerful. And you've done stuff with Benedict Cumberbatch, you've done stuff now with Bonobo. Is there anything else big collaboration wise coming? Maybe a Taylor Swift thing?
Oh my God, I would die if I did anything with Taylor Swift. I think what I love is seeing that, like, these incredible musicians, incredible artists, incredible actors, like, they respond to the organ just like I do, being like, wow, it's so cool. And I think when you've heard for quite a long time people saying, oh yeah, but no one really likes the organ, it's a bit boring, blah blah blah, it's just so nice to see people responding like that, and then thinking, how can we turn this into like a moment, and an exciting emotional moment together. Yeah, I would love to do something with Taylor Swift. The Ray collaboration was really cool. That was, yeah, a couple of weeks ago now. And she's actually just released the live album from her Albert Hall show, where the final track is starting with the organ. And again, that was another one where it was like people screaming for the organ. And 2 years ago, I would have just laughed in your face if you'd said that I'd ever be doing something like that.